Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have the keen Kirk. Welcome back,
Keen.
Kirk.
I
Keen.
am keen. I am keen on so many things, including
Yes.
the Pure Nintendo podcast.
Excellent. And joining us again this week, we have the talented Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
So I have no ranking in the court here.
What do you mean?
You're talented.
You're
Well, wait.
talented.
Give us one of your talents.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're good with dates and game names and things like that, and you're good at sound like music and audio lists. You always notice the audio in games. Yeah, that's a talent.
that might come in handy with some of today's topics. Who knows?
Definitely. Yes, we have a nice full show to talk about all things Nintendo, including a whole bunch of anniversaries, and as well as the Game Awards are up, so we'll talk about the nominations and some new Nintendo music, as well as the games that we're playing. But the anniversaries, this is so interesting. So we've celebrated just a bunch recently, and it just got me thinking that I didn't realize so many consoles came out at this time of year in Nintendo's history. It's quite interesting. So it started when I think it was the Wii U anniversary popped up online, and it had been 12 years since the system launched, on the 18th of November in 2012 in North America, although it was actually randomly later everywhere else. Like I thought Japan usually got consoles first historically, but in this case it was North America, 18th of November. It came in on the 30th of November in Europe and Australia, and December the 8th in Japan, which is, yeah, I feel like that's a little bit backwards that Japan got it last. But then I also noticed the Wii came out on November the 19th. The GameCube also came out in North America on the 18th of November. We have kind of the Super Nintendo on the 21st of November in Japan. The N64 was a September release, so again, a late year kind of thing. But then the DS anniversary is, I think it's, yesterday, right? The 21st, as
Yeah.
of recording. So we're recording on the 22nd in US time, and the DS came out on the 21st of November 2004. So, just crazy. So I guess let's talk about our memories of these systems first, and we'll start with the Wii U. But just what do you think, especially, I guess, Trev, because you kind of notice dates and things like that. What do you think about this? Is it a coincidence that Nintendo always or tends to lean towards the end of the year release? The Switch obviously bucked that trend. It came out in March and it's done very well. Is there any reason to believe that the Switch 2 could be a late year release to go back to that kind of thing? Or what do you think about all that?
I don't necessarily. It's hard to tell with the Switch too. I don't know. Nintendo is pretty unpredictable, but just in terms of that kind of window of release, I think that's more often than not you see that as companies want to capitalize on fourth quarter spending, right? People are thinking holidays and gifts and gift cards and all sorts of things. So not just Nintendo, but a lot of companies have released there. And of course, there's been exceptions, and some have been hugely successful, like the Switch, and then others, less so, like the 3DS kind of struggled out of the gate. Going way back, the Sega Saturn really struggled with, I think it was a spring release, but yeah, I think there's precedent there. And I think, when people are thinking that they're going to spend a lot of money anyway, it's easier
Yeah.
to justify ponying up several $100s for a new console because they're already in that spending mindset. But I have no idea what Switch 2 will do.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's hoping earlier the better, but I mean, we haven't even heard anything concrete really. So
No, we
they got to
haven't.
give themselves time to have a
Yeah,
proper build up.
totally. Yes. And you mentioned the 3DS. That one came out in February, which seems a really odd time to release something because I think February is a bit of a, I don't know, it's, they put all the B grade movies out in February. It's just like a bit of a black hole period where nothing happens. I don't know, maybe because it's post holidays, like it's, very early in the year, nothing's going on. I don't know. What do you think, Kirk? What do you think about all that? Do you have any thoughts or opinions?
I think that if they had their way, Nintendo would always kind of release things in November, since that is sort of their slant looking at what we have in front of us. But I also think that with a console release, a lot of it is going to depend on supply chain. A lot of it's going to depend on what games are ready to go.
Mm.
So whenever something doesn't happen within that time frame, that's always my guess as to why. That they just
Yeah.
want to make sure that this particular thing is going to be ready at the same time the system launches. So I mean, I'm not saying that's all what it actually is. I tend to be wrong on these things.
Well, it's
Um,
got to be taken into account, surely, right?
but
If
yeah,
they,
so
yeah.
yeah, that's why if they're going to announce the system before what in the first quarter of 2025, um, then I think that when it actually comes out is going to have to do with when a lot of what the games that they want to have available
Mm.
are ready to go. And also, I read somewhere that Nintendo was saying that they wanted to have a really big launch with this. They wanted to have a lot of
Mm.
systems ready, so a lot of people would be able to hop in right away. And I think getting those numbers up will also affect when they actually announce the system or
Yeah.
release the system.
That's a really good point. Yes, I agree. I wonder if, I don't know if this is a thing or not. I'm sort of thinking out loud now, whether they try to time it in between other major console releases, as in, what's Sony doing, what's Microsoft doing, etc. It's like movies tend to not release. You don't want to release a big budget, like a big blockbuster at the same time as another big blockbuster if you can help it, or at least one studio kind of spaces out their things at least. I don't know. Do you think that's a thing to consider?
I
Yeah,
think
they're
getting ahead of them is what they would
mm,
want to do, not so much
yeah,
between them, but if there's another big system coming out, then let's
true.
beat them by 4 or 5 months so everyone buys our stuff instead of theirs.
Yeah. Yes.
Although maybe one of our listeners would be able to verify this, but I seem to remember the GameCube and the Xbox launching within days of each other.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I don't know if that's more of a Nintendo mindset where like we don't care what the competition's doing, we're going to do
Yeah.
our own thing, or if that was we think we can take them and certainly
Mm,
tech wise, I mean they were comparable. So, but yeah, I don't know if that was the exception. It was probably more of an exception than a rule, but I seem to
yeah.
remember that being a big thing. And of course,
Yeah.
the PS2 was already out, and the Dreamcast was hanging on for dear life too. So, um, I guess the further I go back, and I'm showing my age, like, in the early 2000s or even the 90s, I think maybe it was more likely that consoles would kind of butt heads like that. But
Mhm.
I think now it's good that there's some separation to
Yeah.
give each one a chance to not only find their audience, but then let that audience resave if they want to invest in another console or another handheld or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's good. And that's your talent, Trev. You knew all that detail. None Kirk and I did not know. I'm speaking for Kirk. I did not know that.
But I don't
You
know the dates, so I have to look up the exact dates. I feel like it was within 3 or 4 days of each other, though.
right. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think if it's gonna be announced early next year, it'll either come out very soon after they announce it, like if they announce it, say, in February, it'll come out in March or April, or they'll save the announcement till the end of March, which is the last, they've said they're gonna let us know by the end of March, and then they might give us 6 months. I don't know, I feel like they'll probably do it quicker. I don't think they'll give us a whole 6 months to wait for it once they've announced it, but I'm not sure either. And I think, yeah, to Kirk's point, I think that's an excellent point about having the right software available for launch. Having the big games they need, whether it's Metroid, Mario, whatever it is. I mean, we know they're working on Metroid, but whether there's a whole stack of things they want to have, I guess they want to have it rushing out because the Switch even didn't have a lot at launch, did it? It was pretty light on software wise. So,
Oh boy,
It's a
it
great
came with
point. Oh, go ahead.
it had the Legend of Zelda when it
mm.
released, and that is my only memory of the games that were available at the time. I mean, that it was so big having that right away.
Yeah, it was a good game to start with, that's for sure.
Yes.
I remember 1-2 Switch was a thing. That
Oh
was
yeah, and like snipper clips or whatever that
Oh,
was.
that was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. And Mario Kart came out, a few months later, I think, but yeah.
I
Anyway.
think when
Yeah.
Switch and when Nintendo announces Switch availability, I think it should be the Switch. We're releasing this new system and it's available right now. In fact, it's already on your doorstep.
That would be awesome. That'd be so 2024, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah, it would. We'll bill you. We know who wants it and who doesn't right away. We used AI to figure out who the day one shoppers are going to be, so it's ready to go. Just plug it in and
yeah,
pay.
If they
excellent.
did that, though, they better have squared things away with retailers because there's potential to have a lot of ticked off retailers if they did a shadow drop of a console
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
AI is
yeah.
smart. They know where you usually buy things. Mine will go through Best Buy. I can't say through for you guys, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting AI to good use right there.
Oh, real quick, I just looked it up. The GameCube launched November 18th, 2021, in 2001, I'm sorry, in North America. The Xbox was November 15th, 3 days
Wow.
apart.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
Who announced the release date first? Do you know that?
Yeah.
that I'd have to dig through some old magazines. I don't know
Mm,
that.
that would be
um,
interesting. And is this
but
the
I
first?
like,
That was the first Xbox, right? Like that was their
yeah,
premier
not
premier
not Xbox One because Xbox
mm,
One's its own thing. It was Xbox original. I don't know what they
yeah.
call it now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Wow.
But I did want to say I like Kirk's point too, not just for software, but even hardware, because not to be jumping ahead on our list here, but you remember when the Wii came out, that was wicked hard. At least I don't know how it was in Australia, but
Mm.
in parts of the US, that was terribly hard to find on shelves with any
Oh, yeah.
consistency for years. For like, I feel like 2 holiday seasons, you were scrambling if you wanted a Wii because
Oh,
they could
yeah.
not keep up with the demand. So they need to make sure that any supply issues don't extend to the console itself or whatever they're doing.
True. No, it was like that here as well. And I believe the Switch had similar, maybe not quite as drastic as the Wii, but wasn't the Switch sold out at some point? Maybe that holiday season of the first year of its release. Wasn't it really hard to get a Switch, or relatively hard to get a Switch? Everyone wanted one that first year, especially.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like I feel like certain like models maybe were
Mm,
like the all black Joy-Con model maybe was hard to get or something, or vice versa. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. Yes, very, very good point. Totally agree. Did we want to talk about any of the like specific console releases, or are we happy to move on to the next topic? As in,
I want to talk about them all.
yeah, I know. We could spend the whole show doing that, couldn't we? Honestly, and I mean, the Wii U for to start with, because 12 years is not that long ago, right? And obviously, we know the Switch came out relatively quickly after the Wii U kind of didn't perform as well as I expected. The Wii,
Mhm.
yes, very commercially successful and very, very hard to get. Everyone had a Wii. We were just rewatching The Simpsons, or well, the first time for my kids, but we're up to like season, I don't know, we're in the 20s somewhere. And so the Wii was obviously a thing because The Simpsons is very, I don't know, it's very of the moment, like the zeitgeist, right? So they're playing the Z in The Simpsons at the
I
moment.
remember that.
Yeah. It's actually really fun going back and watching them because I'd forgotten A, and also B. I'm like, oh, I remember that time. So it's really cool. So yes, and the GameCube 2001, so that's going back like 20 odd years. And that's why it's surprising, even because he said the 90s was more about the dates maybe being coincidental or whatever, or maybe they had to work harder. Like Sony and PlayStation, Sony and Nintendo were kind of at heads a little bit during the late 90s. And then so we had the N64. Even that kind of timing, September, I guess, is a little bit earlier. But to talk about other regions, it was interesting that the N64 came out. And back then, they all came out at very, very different times. Like the Switch was a worldwide release. So we all got it on the same day, which is really cool. The Wii U, as I said, was a bit different, but only within a month of each other. So everyone had it within a month. But go back to N64, and we're looking at quite different time frames. And then the Super Nintendo, even more so. Like it was, I think, a year at least before it came out in Europe. And
Oh yeah, I
yeah, and
remember as a kid reading in Nintendo Power for felt like a good year. They were showing off Super Famicom,
yeah,
because that had come out in Japan, and it's like, when's it coming to the States? I didn't really have awareness of how staggered releases worked across regions, but
mm.
yeah, that was definitely interesting.
Yeah, and that's why Kirk's AI reasoning there with the doorstop shadow drop of the Switch 2 makes so much sense because we've come a long way since the 90s. In the 90s, we had to wait months and months, even years, to get these consoles because we were so not disconnected, but it was not as close as we are now. But now in 2024, everything is like instant, right? It's all happening at once. It's all, we do get shadow drops of games. We do get these very, very tight turnovers. People want to binge watch things. So yeah, Kirk, I think you're on the money a little bit there. But we'll see.
Same time trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll be playing it tomorrow. It's fine. Any other comments about console anniversaries and timings before we move on to the next topic?
I'm just curious because I'm
Yeah.
looking at this list and
Mhm.
excuse me. Even though I'm a big Nintendo guy, obviously, I mean we write for Nintendo magazine, but not one of these systems I grabbed at launch.
Really?
I can remember when I grabbed every system, and they were all usually within a year of launch. But even the Switch, even though I was writing for pure Nintendo, I remember the first few months I was still churning out, uh, like a Wii U eShop game or 3DS game review or something. I didn't actually pick up my Wii U until I think it was the first Mario and Rabbids, which came out in the summer.
Mm.
And it's kind of like that same thing with the Wii. That was even later, mainly because I couldn't find it on shelves.
Yeah.
I think the GameCube was maybe 18 months later. I think I got it around Wind Waker.
Wow.
N64 was about a year later, even though I played it at launch. Um, yeah, DS about a year later. So that's just me anyway. I don't know. Did you guys
Mm.
grab any of these like at launch or in launch window?
I think since the GameCube, I've been getting them at launch. That was the first
Oh,
one I remember pre-ordering. And then I pre-ordered the Wii, the Wii U, Switch. Didn't pre-order the 3DS, I don't think, but I picked it up pretty much straight away anyway. And the DS as well. So yeah, pretty much
hmm.
since the GameCube. What about you,
Yeah.
Kirk?
Wow.
I had the Wii U, the Switch, and the 3DS are the ones that I got on day one.
There you
Wow. So
go.
I'm the odd guy out. How about that?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I had bought the Dreamcast at launch. That's the only system I ever bought on day one.
really
Because I
interesting.
was working at a store and I got like 30% off or whatever. But of course, that system died after like 2 years. It was great, but it burned out so quick. And I don't know if that made me gun shy or
Mm,
maybe I'm just more because I like retro games. I'm content to sit and wait, while they iron out maybe like some initial bugs or whatever. I don't know, but
yeah.
I'm probably
Uh,
going to grab Switch 2 or whatever it is at launch. So that'll be
yeah.
my
Good.
first Nintendo one.
Nice. After all these years, it's good to know.
I know it.
I just can't wait. I'm just too excited. And I also have FOMO. I have serious FOMO. So
Oh, yeah. I've been hearing a lot about that lately.
yeah. No, that's a good point. Well, we'll see then next year, Trev, assuming it does come out next year. We'll see if you do make good on that promise to pick it up at launch. Excellent. Thank you. Well, let's move on to some awards because it is award season and we wanted to let listeners know that we will be doing our own Game of the Year show in the near future in a few weeks' time. So look forward to that one. But in the meantime, there's plenty of other similar kind of things happening, and in particular, I guess the big one that everyone seems to talk about, even though we're not huge fans of it, is the Game Awards. And I just want to talk about some of the nominations that were up because there are a few Nintendo titles in there. It's an odd combination. I don't know. And I feel like Nintendo might get a bit slighted with this particular listing. But it's worth mentioning that there are a few in there, including Metro Prime 4. And I'm jumping ahead in the list because the first one isn't a Nintendo game, but Metro Prime 4 is nominated for the most anticipated game, which I think makes total sense because everyone is waiting desperately for that one. But Kirk, I was very happy to hear that Unicorn Overlord has been nominated for Best Sim Strategy Game.
See, I am not the only one.
Yes,
It should
exactly.
be nominated for best game, not just best sim strategy game. I think this genre gets slighted by a lot of
Mhm.
people across all platforms because it's considered more niche. But
Mhm.
when a game is this good in its genre, I feel like it should be considered across all of them, and
Totally.
push some of these like first person shooters and these other things that tend to get all the attention aside for a
Mm.
moment and take it for what it really is.
Yes, I completely agree. I don't even know the other games it's been nominated against. Do you recognize any of these things? Age of Mythology, Like that sounds somewhat familiar. Frostpunk. Do you know any of these games?
I don't. Age of Mythology's old, isn't it? Like, I mean, so it's Age of Mythology retold. So I don't know if
Mm.
they've updated it, or I'm thinking of something else. I could be thinking of Age of Empires. Who knows?
Yeah, and I yeah, I copy and pasted that list. That's why there's a bit of repetition there. Sorry, but it does lead me to yes, a really good point, because that is, I assume, a remake or some sort of HD whatever version. But other games missed out for that reason, such as where's Paper Mario on this list? It wasn't
Mm.
anywhere in the list at all. Even Mario and Luigi's not there, and that's not a remake, but maybe that's too new. I don't know. But there
Yeah, they
were,
did have an early cutoff.
yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Mario Party Jamboree, though, I'm glad that is up there at least. And that's, I
Mm.
think it's in two categories. Best multiplayer makes total sense. And it's up against like Tekken and Call of Duty, like Warhammer. It just is not in the same league as these. Like, they're just so different to Mario Party.
Well,
So,
are they giving the
Wait,
award away
Tekken?
specifically for the multiplayer? Like, multiplayer just works well, or is it a great game that has multiplayer?
oh, that's a really
How's it?
good question. I assumed it was a great game, but yeah, I don't know.
I totally misread your notes, Gemma. I'm like, how is Tekken and Call of Duty up for like best family game? It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't at all. No.
Yeah, I see better now that I'm looking closer at your notes.
Sorry, because I put, yeah,
It's
I did.
it's
Sorry.
best family lesson games when you have to explain to your 12-year-old why there is no way you're going to let him play Call of Duty Black Ops online with other Call of Duty Black Ops players.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a fun conversation. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you sort of mentioned best family game because Mario Party is also up for best family game, and this is where it's like they've just squashed all the Nintendo games into this one kind of category almost, like Peach, Princess Peach Showtime, Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. It's like, that's not fair. I just don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, like I love Peach Showtime, I love Echoes of Wisdom. I'm not sure they should be, I don't know. I guess it's good that they're at least mentioned in this category, best family game, but it just seems a bit of a slight. It's just like, oh, let's just put all the Nintendo ones because they're family games. Like they are family friendly, but they're also action games and role play, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they don't just sit in that one category because they're G rated or they're not R rated, right? So
Yeah.
What I
yeah.
think this is the same as like how people, when back in the old days where it was always Mac versus PC, and the PC people were always like, oh yeah, the Mac, that's for designers. If we've got any designing things, we'll attack to the Mac people, having no concept of what the system was actually for, but this is the way it was viewed. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of these things at the Game Awards, they're like, okay, family section, let's see what Nintendo has
Yeah.
released this year, and they don't even look to see what else Nintendo has done that could fit
Mm.
into another platform.
Yeah, exactly. And it was
Category, I
nice.
mean,
Yeah.
category.
And Echoes of Wisdom did get another look in the Best Action Adventure category, so that's something. And it's up against the likes of Astrobot, Prince of Persia, Star Wars Outlaws, and Silent Hill 2, which I thought Silent Hill 2 was more of a horror than an action adventure, but okay. So yeah, interesting
Yeah. Does
groupings.
horror have its own category? Maybe that's why they threw it there.
Maybe not. Actually, I don't recall seeing that, to be honest. No. Yeah,
I wonder
that's
if they do their own like research or something and just figured out that like Nintendo fans maybe don't tend to tune into the
could
Game
be.
Awards as much as Sony or Microsoft or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
it's more of a hardcore gamer thing, I
Yeah, I'd say
believe.
so. So, at least it's in there, I
So what
guess.
are we? Are we casual gamers?
Well, yeah, that was a dumb. As I said that, I realized that's not what I meant.
No, I get you meaning. I'm just teasing.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's all good. So,
it's hard.
yes.
It's hard for me to further that thought without getting stereotypical and angering a group of people. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave
Yeah.
it there.
We'll leave it there. So yes, the Game Awards, the nominations are up and you can vote online if you want to. It is, I guess it's done all online by fans. So I guess it depends who, yeah, if they're, to use Kirk's term, hardcore gamers jumping on and voting for the likes of Call of Duty, then it'll win, I suppose. But yeah, if you want to have your say, go and do so. Let's move on to something a bit more fun, I suppose, which is Nintendo Music. And the trend has continued in that we seem to be getting a new release every Monday. And so this Monday we got F-Zero X. Trev, have you had a chance to listen to this at all?
I did. I feel like I'd never played F-Zero X, believe it. Well, I shouldn't say that because like Switch Online, but I never played it on a 64,
Mm-hmm.
even though I liked the original on Super Nintendo quite a bit. I feel like this music is really, how do I want to word this? There's certain music I can listen to whether I'm playing a game or watching the game or just listen on its own. For F-Zero X, I feel like the music is designed so you're playing. I'm not sure how
Mm,
listenable it is on its own because I can't picture like the tracks in my head or weaving around corners or blowing past competition. Like, so I feel like maybe it's not doing a service for me because I'm not playing the game. I feel like that's
mm,
probably when you enjoy it the best. But then again, I'm not nostalgic for it because I didn't grow up with it. So it
true.
might mean more to you or to Kirk or to others.
Well, I have not played it either, so not necessarily. I did give it a listen just because, it's there and why not? And I'm interested in seeing, what's new on the Nintendo Music app. And it's very fast paced. So I get what you're
Mm,
saying. I would think,
thumping.
yeah, I would think for me it would make sense maybe if you were running or doing something very, I don't know, the adrenaline pumping
Yeah,
exercise,
for sure.
maybe. Or if you had it on the background while you were madly cleaning or something. I don't know. For me, I
I
was
don't
listening
know
to
if I could ever clean that fast, but
it. Yeah, but it's, it is what it is. And it's a very short soundtrack. I think it was only like 38 minutes or something. And yes, if you have that nostalgic kind of view, then great. I think of the PN crew though, I think it's Justin who's the F-Zero fan. But Kirk, do you have
yeah.
any F-Zero kind of memories or thoughts on the soundtrack?
Not a one.
Not all. There you go.
In fact, every time I see F-Zero, for some reason, Star Fox comes into my head. Are they similar games?
Ah, no. Well,
I've
no.
also, by the way, never played Star Fox. So
Yeah.
Well, Mode 7, right? I
Yeah,
guess
true.
kinda
Obviously,
as
yeah,
showcases back in the
yeah.
day.
But Star Fox is, yeah, a flying sort of space shooter kind of thing, from a third person perspective, I guess, not
Yeah.
like a top down. So and then F Zero is like a racer, so a third person racer. So I guess from
Yeah.
that sort of,
It
yeah,
does
they
have
both
a
involve.
sci-fi, vibe
Yeah,
to it though,
yeah,
so
that's true. They both have
and
sci-fi
the
elements.
letters, I think it's the letters are the same. You take the Zer out of Zero, and now you've got Fox. So, like Zer Fox becomes Star Fox, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
and what
I
if
was
you're in
probably.
Europe, right? Isn't it Lilac Wars or something for Star
Oh,
Fox?
yeah, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Yeah. I'm probably more of a Star Fox fan than an F-Zero fan, but,
How come they're putting F-Zero on the music app, but where's a new F-Zero game? I mean, the last
mhm.
time we saw F-Zero in any type of newness was it the Mario Kart tracks, like the Wii U DLC
Pretty
back in the
much.
day?
I mean, there was F-Zero 99, but I don't know if you classify that as new since it was just,
Mm,
yeah, the
I
basic.
suppose it technically is, but yeah, nah, not for me. I need a solo. I can play solo or couch multiplayer. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, they could just even do an update, right? Like F-Zero HD or some kind of collection or something. Because there's some GBA F-Zero games too, which I think
Mm.
they actually might be on online as well. But it's not the same, you know. What if
Hmm.
people want a physical, tangible collection, or if they're not online subscribers, like do something with the property. It's one of
Yeah.
your IPs.
It is surprising, actually, now that you mention it. It's been a long time, and it seems to have its fan base, so, yeah, maybe the music is like, "Well, let's see how many people listen to this, and then we'll make a game."
Yeah, I wonder. They're probably tracking to see how.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but the app, I mean, we've been listening to it a lot at night. Like, and I say we because, like, when I say goodnight to my kids, especially my youngest, we'll put on some Nintendo music because they have a playlist, and one of the playlists is like a goodnight playlist, and it's really
Oh,
nice.
oh, you listen to
Yeah.
the app at night, not F-Zero at night.
No, 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 no. Sorry, the app. No,
Okay, I'm like
imagine.
nobody's going to sleep.
Not tonight. No, there's
Uh,
a good night playlist, which is a lot more relaxing than F Zero. It's
yeah,
got some really nice. Let's see, Yoshi's Island and Animal Crossing tunes that are in there. Mario, I think there's a Mario Odyssey 1 or 2. Yeah, they're really, really sweet and nice. And so that's a good little kind of nice bedtime routine, I guess, if you're into that. It's my tip of the week.
I
Yeah.
concur.
Yeah. Any other comments on Nintendo music before we move on
I
to
could fall asleep listening to the music of F-Zero X, I guarantee.
Yeah? Really? Okay.
Yeah. Consider the games I'm playing that I fall asleep while I'm playing at night in my chair, or the hockey games that are on and are very exciting, and suddenly I wake up and it's been over for an hour. Yeah, I'm at that age.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We look forward to getting to that age too.
Oh, it's great being able to sleep whenever you want and not have to worry about,
Yeah, that's I could use that. I do wake up sometimes middle of the night and it's like it's 4 a.m. I don't want to get up. Why can't I sleep? Anyway, so yeah, I look forward to that. But Kirk, you have something interesting and exciting to tell us about a preview event that you attended. Would you like to divulge more about that one?
Yes, once again, last week, NIS America had a media preview event on Discord for the forthcoming game Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero, which is coming out in January sometime. I have it here. January 20th, is that right? 30th, January 30th. This is, I didn't know this, Phantom Brave is an older game that was originally released for, was it on the Wii? Again, I should have had all this in front of me, so my apologies to everyone. It is on the Switch. You can get it as part of the Prinny series. Prinny presents NIS Classics Volume 1.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, I was wrong. It was originally released for the PS2 in 2004. But there was a Wii remake called Phantom Brave We Meet Again. That's what I was thinking of, from 2009. So the name is out there. This is a whole new game. And although it does involve characters from the first one and kind of the same gameplay elements, it's very much its own standalone game. But it has a lot of unique things about it. You play a character named Morona who sort of sails around these different islands. And along the way, this like skeleton ghost crew people start attacking. She has to defend them. But the cool thing about this is you create basically all of your teammates. You create your own characters. And then when you go into battle with them, you don't just take them in. You have to kind of assign them to objects. So you're like finding a tree and you're assigning this, like one of your characters to the tree. And then that tree becomes the character and is able to run around and fight for a few turns and then goes away. So you're able to constantly shift who you're taking into the battles. And the battles on this, it's not exactly turn-based like you're moving around on a grid. You have freedom to move and there's a big circle around you. And as you move, the circle gets smaller and smaller until it's like right up against you. And then you can't move anymore. Then you do the action. But so if you don't like where you ended up, you could just back up, go somewhere else and try something again. But it very much is a create everything in this game. There's a difficulty setting where if you're not really into tinkering with your party and your abilities and your items, then you can kind of breeze through it a little more easily without having to do that. But it's designed you create your characters. You can create your own dungeons that you go in to explore. You create ships that give you different abilities as you explore. So there's just an awful lot to do in this. It was kind of a lot to take in during the presentation. So I'm not fully aware of how it's all going to come together yet, but there will be a demo. So cool. You'll be able to hop in, try it out, see if you can get into this system and dig it. It also very much like fans of Disgaea. I think we pronounced that before. Disgaea. Does anyone know how to pronounce that?
I say Disgaea, but that doesn't mean it's right.
It's got that kind of artwork, that sort of approach to it. And like a lot of games, it's developed by Nippon Ichi. And a lot of their games are very bright and colorful and have these humorous characters, but they always have this kind of like dark undertone to them. And I've always dug that juxtaposition, and it's going to happen here too. So I'm looking forward to this. It's not one that was on my radar until I had the I had the Discord preview. But it is now.
Cool. Sounds interesting. And was it how long were you previewing? Like for an hour or something?
Yeah, they usually go about an hour. We'll get an introduction to the systems, and then we can watch them play, and they'll highlight certain things, and then we have a question and answer session. And in this one of the development team members, Kento Jabana, from Nippon Ichi, was on, and through translation was answering our questions and talking about his favorite things about the games and what he's looking forward to. So it was good. It was fun.
That does sound super fun. And what's sorry, I don't think you mentioned this, but I'm sorry if you did. What is the difference between this version and the previous one? Is this just a revamped edition?
It's a new game.
Oh,
It's
it's
completely
completely new. Okay, so it's a sequel kind of thing or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
except I don't know how if the stories actually come together so much as here's another game that has these kind of gameplay elements. I didn't play the first version that's available through the on the Switch. I don't know that I will because of everything else that's going on. But if there are any, if any of our listeners have played the previous game, then let us know if you're looking forward to this.
Yeah. Very cool. Exciting. And another seafaring kind of adventure. There seems to be a lot of those lately. Is it just me? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that does seem to be the case. And yeah, you're sailing to. I don't know if there are any battles at sea.
Mhm.
You're kind of landing on islands and getting into the combat there. But
Yeah.
who
Cool.
knows? Big game, probably going to be all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. Any comments from Trev on Phantom Brave?
I was just looking up the version they remade for the Wii. I just want to say they missed an opportunity. Phantom Brave, We Meet Again, of spelling we WII. Like how could they not do that? It's
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
it's right there. It's
That's my only comment though.
Maybe that was also released on other systems,
Maybe.
I
and
see.
they didn't want other people to feel bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Still, we can get you a copy and just change it, Trev, so that it looks like that on the cover. Photoshop it.
Uh,
Very cool. Thank you, Kirk. So January the 30th, that one comes out in the new year. So only
Yep.
what, like 2 months away, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Of all the games that they've shown us recently, this is one of the ones with the nearest release date. So I'm surprised they saved that for last. But
Yeah, interesting. And the look of it, it's very what, like chibi kind of. Is that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, it's got a very cute sort of like the characters all look young and colorful
Mm.
and but then also a lot of them are designed in a way where they're not young. We'll put it that way.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very
So, but
cool.
yeah, NIS America has this huge slate of games, especially for JRPG, RPG action fans. Just a lot coming out, and it's going to be a good start of the year if you're a fan of their games.
Yeah, definitely. Very exciting for JRPG fans. Thank you, Kirk. Let's move on to the games that we're playing. And I will go first because I am playing a game. I think we briefly mentioned it last week that it was coming out during the week. So it's out now. It just came out last Tuesday, I believe, and it is called Stray. So it's a cat, third cat adventure. Like you're playing from a third person perspective, but you're a cat, which I love. And this is a game. It's actually it's I guess it's about 2 years old in terms of it was released on other consoles over the last 2 years, but this is the Switch debut. And just on as an aside, it is actually on sale only until the 25th. So this episode will air on the 25th. So if you did want to get a bit of a discount on it, it is on sale for the rest of today. So Stray, I've been playing this one just recently, the last kind of day or so. It's I think it's about 12 chapters long, so I'm about a third of the way through thereabouts. And it's so funny that I played another game during the year called Little Kitty Big City, where I was a cat, and now I'm playing Stray, where I'm also a cat. Like, there's not that many games where you're a cat, and I played the two main ones this year, and I really loved Little Kitty Big City, and I'm really enjoying Stray too. It's a beautiful looking game, very striking with its kind of. It's set in, I guess, a kind of post-apocalyptic dystopian kind of future. There's no humans around. You're a cat who's lost its family, and you're lost in this kind of cyber city. It's all very run down, but there are androids kind of hanging around that sort of seem helpful at this point. As I said, I'm only a third of the way through it, but yeah, there are androids. They're dressed as humans though, so I don't know what's been going on. And one of them said he was like 357 years old or something. So it's obviously been a long time since something happened, and I'm not sure where that's going to lead to, but it's very interesting. There's these little alien creatures as well. They're like little rat things with like red eyes. They're kind of scary. Don't know what they are either at this point, but they are bad and they chase you. So, but I'm really impressed with the way it handles on the Switch because it's, as I said, it's a lovely looking game. Haven't seen any kind of loading time issues or frame rate drops, really anything like that. There's most of the time you're just slinking around as a cat. You can jump on things, you can run and meow and stuff like that. There is at least one scene so far where I've had to run really fast to get rid of these alien things that were chasing me, and that was really nicely done on the Switch. I didn't have any issues with that. And so I'm just generally impressed with the way it's working, but just visually, it just looks really. The intro is beautiful. You're in this kind of, even though the main game is set in this dystopian rundown kind of cyber city, the intro is set in this kind of wilderness area. There's like pipes and stuff, but it's very much green with trees and waterfalls and stuff like that. And that's when you're with your little cat family and you're kind of just going along. It's a peaceful day. And then, you whatever happens, you lose your family, and that's where the game sort of properly begins. But it's sort of serves as a bit of a tutorial where you kind of learn how to be a cat, I guess. And from my understanding, the developers used real cats. They mirrored real cats and translated that into digital kind of actions to make it very realistic, and it feels very realistic. The cat looks like a cat. Walks and moves like a cat. It sits, it sometimes gets scared and it puts its back up. It'll lie on the ground. It's so funny. There's one thing, Trev, you might relate because you have cats as well. There's one point where have you ever tried putting clothes on a cat or
No, because I'm
no?
not an idiot, but I value my skin too much to want to dare do that.
I have done this as a child. Anyway, this one cat we had in particular in real life, you do anything to this cat, it would just flop. And the cat in the game does this where he unlocks this robot who kind of becomes your little helper friend. It's called B12, and he kind of is a little drone who flies around. But you wear this little kind of suit, and this is where the drone sleeps when it's recharging. And when the suit goes onto the cat just flops there. It's just so funny, and it's just so cat-like. It's very cute. I love it. So yeah, enjoying my time with Stray. We'll keep playing it, and I'm working on a review for this one, so keep tuned for the full my full thoughts on that one. Did you guys have any questions about Stray? Have either of you played Stray in another capacity at all, or heard of it?
I have not played it.
In another capacity, like
Like
in
on
real life, if we ever
no,
played a Stray?
no, just like on another console, I guess. But yeah, no, that's okay. I hadn't either. I hadn't really.
I am
My cat's next to me right now. He's trying to rub his face on the microphone, so trying to
That's-
hold him off with one arm here while I'm talking.
yeah, very cat-like also, and you can do that. Sometimes you'll be walking along. I like the way they've done this. It might seem a little restrictive at times, but you can't just do anything anywhere. It'll give you the option, like if you can rub against something, for example, and there's a little X button icon, and that means you can do something. So you might, if for example, at the very beginning when you're with your other cats, your cat family, if you go up to one of these cats and press X, you can rub against the cat like a really friendly cat rub, like a little whatever. And you can press B to jump, but only when you can jump. So I like that you're not just randomly looking for places to jump. It'll tell you when it's kind of safe to do that, if that makes sense. There's no life meter, although you can die because that did happen to me. But there's no life meter or timer or any. The screen is just the screen. It's just the game. So it's very clear. Like it's not clear because it's a very dark world, but do you know what I mean? It's very if you're playing on a big screen, the whole screen is dedicated to the game. There's nothing else happening. There's no map. There is an inventory that you do unlock at some point, so you can collect items, which is kind of cool. And the cat can pick things up with its little mouth and carry them over to solve puzzles. There's a lot of puzzle elements to this as well. So yeah, it's pretty unique. I like it. It's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Should we move on to you, Kirk? What are you playing this week?
I am playing a Chemco RPG. from the past.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Actually, Trevor and I were talking about this earlier in the week. We both take on, I think, quite a few of these Chemco games. I may have even mentioned in the on previous podcast that they tend to get a bad rap because of the similarity of them all. I took this review on not knowing that it was a game that had been out for previous system. I believe it was on the 3DS. You said you have this on the DS, Trevor?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I grabbed it when the shop was closing because I wanted to. Because I got quite a few of their games on 3DS. Some I reviewed and some I just grabbed because they were on sale or I just wanted them before they closed up. Not thinking that they'd be ported to the Switch, which makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, it's very much an old style kind of NES graphics gameplay. SNES, one of the two. I came in after that,
Yeah,
but
SNES.
okay. Simple system. You put together a party. You go into turn-based battles. You can attack. You can use an item. You can use magic. This one's a little more rudimentary because of its age. Like a lot of the Chemco games lately, the combat systems have gotten a little more complex as far as like how you're leveling up weapons or unlocking certain special attacks or combo attacks. This doesn't really have any of that. It's a throwback visually too. You could tell it was done with one of their earlier engines, which makes it kind of fun for like a nostalgic standpoint. It's just very easy to kind of breeze through it. Chemco, they've been doing this with a lot of their games, and I love this. You can purchase DLC that makes the game easier or even harder. Like for $2.99, you can buy something that allows you to get double the experience, or you can buy something that will make it so all of your health is returned at the end of a battle. Um, so if you're having trouble going through it, you don't necessarily need to walk through or grind, although you can. You could just spend a couple bucks and make the game easier. So I dig that. I think that's a good approach. The fun thing about this game too is that the story is somewhat meta in that the main character that you play or follow comes from our world. He like gets summoned into this world and is very aware of video games and like knows what to do. They're like, okay, now we're going to go meet the king to start it. He's like, yeah, I guess this is real. Let's go do this. But they even address the point from the writing where why is this kid who, as they say repeatedly at the beginning of the game, is only into video games and anime. In fact, from a writer standpoint, this always drives me nuts when like they want to make the character like anime, but they can't mention anything by name. So he's constantly referring like, oh man, if I hear I'm going to miss that latest anime that I really wanted to see. Speaking the way people never, ever, ever do. Got to find a way to get around that, writers. But
Yeah.
so he goes down there and they like the main character within this world gives him a power, and they even explain it like not right away. Later on we find out what it is that sort of gives him the knowledge of how to wield a sword. So although he's got the energy and I want to go do this, he has no idea what to do, but suddenly has this ability to become the summoned special one, I believe they call him, to do it. So it's a light breezy game. If you're not into Chemco RPGs, this is not the place to start. It's a little too old and archaic in its presentation and gameplay. But if you have played games with this like this in the past and are looking for a nostalgia kick, it's a fun one to get into.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that kind of, I guess, 90s style of RPG, that top-down 16-bit look with what turn-based battles, I guess, by the looks of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All turn-based.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. I definitely would have loved this in the 90s. I don't know. I haven't played one of these for a while. It looks pretty neat though. And even the story, I love it. Even the story seems like it would have been a 90s game. Like the kid is going to the arcade, doesn't want to do his homework, and he gets sucked into this world. And he has to fight a battle and save this world. Like
It's a little more original as far as Chemco or EXE Create, I think, is the developer on this one. But
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the hard part about playing it is after we've gone through games like Sea of Stars, and there's another one where it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of got this approach and these visuals, but it's so modern and so good looking. And then you look at some of these screens, and like there's this one where you could see him sort of on the top of a cliff
Yeah.
at the Nintendo site, and the texture for the trees that are far away is just so goofy looking to make it look like they're off in the distance, and they get like
Mm.
an immediate drop to make them even smaller. It's um, kind
Yeah.
of goofy to look at. So you need to go into it with like a sense of humor. But the game
Yeah.
has a sense of humor, so it fits.
That's cool. And it's such a small download too. It's like
Yeah,
139 megabytes, like compared to
yeah,
Stray,
it's
which Stray is very big. I think it was, I
Mm.
can't remember how many gig it was. It was pretty big though. But obviously it looks visually very different. So yeah.
Does it have the map for the dungeons, Kirk? Because on the 3DS, obviously the bottom screen was the map, but how does that work on the Switch? Is it like in the corner or?
curiously on the overworld. There's a map that you can pull up that sort of shows. Oh yeah, I'm confusing myself. Yes, there is a map in the upper left corner that you could use, and it's kind of like it's not the best map. You need to actually move over to where you are in order to see everything. The point I was making is that when you're in a dungeon and you like want to pull up a full map, it doesn't pull up the full map. It pulls up the full world map outside.
Hmm.
So you can't
Mhm.
see where you've been in the dungeon. You have to actually, unless I'm missing something or haven't acquired an item that makes it available, you have to actually move to, like, if you want to see if you missed the dungeon has hidden areas and you can't remember where the one hidden area was, but you want to get back to it and sort of like walk around the wall until you find the opening. um, you have to actually go all the way back in order to see it. And so sometimes you end up going the wrong direction because you
Uh,
can't recall where it was.
Interesting. Just one more question, which is you mentioned that you can sort of pay to help you. Do you need to? Like, is it hard?
No.
Okay, that's good. You wouldn't want it to be like, oh, you need to spend this extra money, but I guess it's good to have the
Yeah.
option. Yeah.
Yeah, I could. Well, I'm going to say not so far. I have played numerous Chemco games in the past where when you're running into the general enemies, it's nothing. You can go through it, hit auto battle, and you're going to be fine. And then you get to a boss, and you are nowhere near ready for that boss.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That has happened. It hasn't happened yet in this game. It still may.
Mhm.
But even then, if that happens and you haven't purchased the ability to like level up faster, then you're still going to need to grind even after you get
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
you're still too far back. So
That's
hopefully that's not the case.
yeah. I was going to ask that actually if there's grinding, but I assume there would be. So yeah, the payment, like the $3 whatever, is just to help you get experience faster, so you have to grind less, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Not everyone likes to grind. Does anyone
it
like to grind?
it's manageable. I mean, I got to the end on 3DS, and
Yeah.
it's more a convenience thing on the Switch because
Yeah. Mm.
you only get so much time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And if you once you buy these, you can turn them on and off too. Like there's another one you can get for $1.99, which shuts off all encounters because they're random encounters. So if you've been in a
Mhm.
dungeon, now you're going through it just to try to find the treasure. You don't want to bother with fights. Turn that on,
Yeah.
and you can do it.
I don't like random encounters, but they're very common in these games. That's for sure. Yes.
Yeah, and the battles in this, most of the random encounters, the battles are over in 20 to 30 seconds. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's not as annoying as some games where once you get in one, now you're going to be stuck there for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. And you do need them, I guess, in order to gain
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
points
definitely
anyway.
need the skills.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Kirk. Trev, would you like to talk about the game that you're playing this week?
I I would. I'm still trying to shoo my cat away. He left and then he came back, and he's giving me a dirty look here.
He's hungry.
Um, yeah, it is. It's dinner time. You may hear him before we're done recording. But the game I'm playing this week, well, one of the games, the main game, is a game called Locomotive. Obviously, a play on words, locomotive, because you're playing on a train, but motive, because it's a murder mystery. It's a point and click graphic adventure, which, coming off Broken Sword, I've really been in the mood to kind of play games like that. And So this was good timing for me, and it's fully voice acted, which is a big thing. And for me, it's one of the things that separates a good point and click game from a great one. Is because you're there's so much talking and a dialogue and interaction with characters. For talkie adventures anyway, and that's what this is. So I'm really enjoying that. It starts off with a murder, and you're playing the attorney of the deceased. And in a funny turn of events, you lost the will. So you're searching for the will while trying to figure out who would have the motivation to bump her off and inherit her wealth. She was rich, so it makes everyone a suspect, kind of, right? And there's good pixel art. There's as far as locations, I mean, you seem to be confined to the train, so it's not as diverse as some games, but it certainly seems to be working for diversity in terms of characters, because there's a lot of quirky characters that you can talk to and interact with. Relatives of the deceased, just guests on the train, staff of the train, and of course the puzzles. Are the thing that drive you forward. Very much in the style of this genre. So not every puzzle is going to make perfect sense, but within the context of the genre, they make sense, right? So you kind of have to put yourself in that mindset. And I guess the more familiar you are with games like this, I would say, especially like kind of the '90s era, like LucasArts Adventures, you'll probably find yourself going. But if you haven't played a lot of these games, you're going to be stuck. It does have a built-in kind of hint system where you can call on a phone. Um, I've only had to use it once, and it wasn't particularly helpful for what I needed because it didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. But it's still a nice feature, which I think can attract less experienced players
Can
to
I
get into
interrupt real
it.
quick?
Yeah, of course.
The So the hint system within the game, you're dialing like a phone in the game to get the hint.
That's correct. There's a phone
That's
on the
fantastic.
yeah. There's a phone on the train. I think the game takes place in the 30s, so it's not like you have a cell phone. But and there's a character, and it's sort of I guess meta in a way, right? Like Kirk was saying for the last game, but you're talking and you'd be like, "Hey, what do you need help with?" And like I needed help because we had to get into the kitchen, and every time we went, we were getting kicked out because there was something going on. The chefs wouldn't let us in, and so we called the guy in, and his tip was basically like, "Well, they're probably just not ready for you. I'd just try again later." It's not terribly helpful, but I could see how it could be because we realize, okay, we're just not ready to be there yet. We're jumping ahead. We haven't done something else here. So as a time saver, I think that's a good thing. I think that can, we talk about sometimes respecting the player's time. So I think that's a nice thing without going into spoiler territory. So I appreciate it, even if I'm not going to use it all that much.
And I love that because, and I think we mentioned on here before, back in the day when these games come out, like what you said with LucasArts or Sierra,
Oh,
you had to
Sierra.
actually call. The only way you could get hints before the internet was to call the phone numbers that they put in the instruction manuals, and they charged you per minute
Oh, wow.
for how long you were on the phone with it. So the fact that this game has you using the phone to get hints is brilliant.
Do they talk
Yeah.
slowly like that Simpsons episode, Trev? This.
No, it's pretty good. I'm not sure. I thought I recognized actually a couple of the voices, but um I haven't seen credits, so I don't know who's voicing what character, but they talk with personality. There's I guess certain things are stereotyped, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially in this style of game, because there's limited animations and whatnot, so you're trying to convey personality. But yeah, no, it's a cool feature, and I should say, so far at least, I have not seen a way where your character can die. Because like the Sierra games, you could die repeatedly, and part of that was fun, right, to see what they would
Yep.
say or how it happened, but that could also lead to frustration. So I haven't
Same
run into
early, same
anything.
often.
I haven't run into anything like that yet. So,
It looks
uh,
nice. I like the visual style. I love that it's got voice acting, and it's also on sale actually until the 28th of
oh, there you
November,
go.
10% off. So yeah, it's
Yeah, it
only
seems to have everything I look for in these type of games: the pixel art, the vocals, and the humor too. You know, a lot of these games work so well because they're humorous. So,
yeah, good that you could follow something as strong as Broken Sword with something, maybe not 10 out of 10 necessarily, but it's obviously fun and that's good. So
yeah, it was a good time, and I was glad to see it because, it was tough being a fan of this genre growing up because Nintendo really never did anything with point and click games. It wasn't really till like the DS Wii era when I started seeing them, and then obviously the Switch, um, has gotten quite a few of those as well. So, yeah, good timing for me.
We
yeah.
could do a whole offshoot episode of all these games that came out on the systems over the years because there were so many that I would love to. Did you ever play like Manhunter, Trevor?
I'm thinking it's not ringing a
Manhunter New
bell.
York, Manhunter San Francisco. That's another Sierra one.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I remember. I recognize the title, but no, I never played it.
Yeah.
no. Is it also a movie? Is it based on the movie or not? Manhunter.
Boy, I don't know. I guess it could be.
Oh, cool. I had not heard of that one. Anyway, sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of
Awesome.
good ones. What was that
Yeah.
one? It was like Frontier Pharmacist, I think.
Oh, Freddie Farkas, Frontier Pharma.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was like a Leisure Suit Larry offshoot.
Ah, okay. I've heard of Leisure Suit Larry. Remember that
Oh
one?
yeah, boy, those early Leisure Suit Larry games were gold.
They don't make them like they used to.
Well, that type of sense of humor, it's hard to do it right. The guy who did those games, Al Lowe, who wrote them, knew how to do that kind of entendre, body, Benny Hill kind of thing because you could
Mm,
do it and get away with it and nobody gets upset. But I don't. That's that's a very fine touch
yeah.
that I think most comedy writers just don't have these days.
Mm, yep. Very interesting. Cool. So Locomotive, it's out now. I think it came out during the week, didn't it, Trev? Last week?
I think so.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if Kirk remembers. Yeah, I remember seeing it, and um, yeah, Kirk grabbed the code for
It
me the next
it
day.
actually just came out yesterday as we're recording. Another Thursday release, November 21st.
Yeah.
Ah,
Very cool. Excellent. We're rapidly running out of time, so I will probably carry over the next two because they're not. Well, I'll just quickly mention Fitness Boxing because that's a demo that's just come out. So, Fitness Boxing 3 is a game that's coming out, I think, sometime in early December from memory. And there's a demo for Fitness Boxing 3, which you can play right now. And I did give it a quick try last night with my son. And it's not, I've never played a fitness boxing game before. So, my first foray into this field. Um, I had a good time with it. I don't know if boxing is my thing, but you're just holding the Joy Cons and you're just punching the air. And there's a nice timer. There's a person talking to you as you're doing it to kind of motivate you. You're getting points for accuracy. You kind of get a bit of a result in terms of how much calories you might have burned, what your fitness age is. You can put in your details as well, like your height and weight, and it will help you like monitor that and do progress over time. There's a cool down period afterwards where you can kind of stretch, and that feels really nice to do. It feels like a proper, like that's what you should do, right, when you're doing exercise. So yeah, I thought it was quite good. I mean, I don't know if I'll buy the full game. I might try this demo. I don't know how the demo seemed full to me. I don't know what's going to happen today when I try it. Like that was yesterday. So when I try it today, will it say, "Oh, you can't play it," or can I only play it for 5 days in a row or something? Like it seems like the sort of thing you'd want to do like as a calendar, you'd want to do it every day and adjust your progress and see how you go and that sort of thing. And I don't know, we'll see what happens with this demo, but certainly very fun. I think was it Trev maybe had tried one of these previous games from memory?
Actually, both of
Both
us.
of you had,
yeah,
yeah.
actually, I think Kirk did the first one, and
Yeah, I thought
I
we talked
reviewed
about
the
it a
second.
few months ago, maybe on the show. So, yeah, I don't know if you're interested in this one at all, but yeah, I mean, it's not the full game is not cheap. I know that much. So, but I was thinking because I'm not a gym person, I just don't like going to the gym and exercising in front of a whole bunch of people. This is my thing. This, for $60, whatever it is, or I don't know what the price is in the US, but I guess that's cheaper than a gym pass, right? For that's probably 2 weeks worth of gym or something, I guess. So if you want to use it a lot, it's probably good value. I don't know. Anyway.
Remember that Simpsons when Homer was doing the power sauce bars and he's like, "Dime? What's a dime?"
Oh, a dime. Right. Yes. Love that. And I'll tease you for next week. I'll talk about Balatro because I know offline we talked about this during the week, didn't we, Trev? Or last week with Justin. I got it. So it's one of those games of the year type of things that people are talking about. Yeah, it's a card game. It's not a new game. It came out in February, I think, on the Switch, but it was on sale this week. So I thought I'll pick it up and give it a try. I just had to. It's that FOMO thing. So I'll talk about that next week. I'll talk about that next week and let you know what I think. But that sort of brings us to the close of the show. Anything else you guys wanted to mention before we close things off?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me this week. Thank you, listeners. We'd love to know what you think of the show and what you're playing. Let us know. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like button. We'd love your support. You can also catch us on over on Blue Sky and Mastodon if you are so inclined. And we're also, if you'd like to support us and get yourself a copy of our next issue of the Pure Nintendo magazine, which we are working on at the moment, you can head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo. We'd love your support and we'd love to get you a physical copy of a magazine into your hands in the next, what are we looking for? A December, January kind of release date for that one. So stay tuned for more information on that. And thank you again. Until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.
So long.